Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to each and every media member and friend of Terry who is here to attend our media curtain raiser press briefing. We value your presence. Thank you for taking out the time and coming here. As you know, this is Terry's flagship event and we're very excited about it. We would like to take you through, give you a sneak peek into the things which have been planned for the summit. And thank you for your continued support all along that we have been getting from you all. Without taking much time, I will quickly introduce our esteemed panel. In the middle, Dr. Vibha Dhawan, she is our Director General. Not much to say because ma'am herself is a personality in herself and a distinguished research leader. She's been a guiding spirit for the Institute. On her left is Mr. Ajay Shankar. He is a seasoned expert and very well-known figure in the renewable energy space. On her right is Dr. Sherry Kedia, who is the curator of WSDS and a senior fellow with Terry. Without taking much time, I'll just quickly take you through the agenda. Dr. Dhawan will introduce WSDS. Mr. Ajay Shankar will give an overview about decentralized renewable energy solutions through partnerships. And Dr. Kedia will take you through a quick presentation to tell you what are the things which are planned for the summit. Ma'am, may I just hand over the mic to you?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tanmana. And a very hearty welcome to all of you. And in fact, I don't have to list what is the importance of media. And these days, when you switch on the Netflix, they immediately talk about, there is one ad which talks about that you are the ones who in a way also create the perception of the public towards any particular topic or what we are discussing about. So I would like to extend a very hearty welcome to each one of you, and especially when we are talking of where we are today at the global level. Climate change, I should say, it never had the kind of impact we are facing for last couple of years. It is something which we perceived as a threat, is a reality which with much uglier face. Of course, I won't say earthquake today morning when in a way we all got up with the rattling sound around us, and immediately at least I felt how close the death is, because it was so bad, and you know, in a way you felt I can't do anything. So what's going to happen? So those 10-20 seconds in a way brought us what the realities are. We talk of fires in California, you talk about any country in the world, and somewhere or the other it is getting impacted by the climate change. We also have a threat in the way, I should say, the perception, and that is what is happening in the United States in terms of funding that perhaps will be available to do work in this particular sphere of, I should say, stopping or at least delaying the emissions or the impact of climate change. That also puts us in a unique position, or I should say how the importance of World Sustainable Development Summit, which this year's topic is Partnership for Acceleration, Sustainable Development and Climate Solutions. So that puts us that maybe the Global South and some of the other countries need to invest their finances, need to invest their human resource to do research and find solutions themselves. And partnerships is the key answer, and a forum of the kind of World Sustainable Development Summit is one of those opportunities, because we are going to have world leaders from across the globe, and the topics which we are going to discuss again are towards where the action is to be taken. And needless to say, and I always say, 1 and 1 makes 11. We have very few experts. We have very limited finances available with us. So we have to put our energies together and look for solutions. The 24th edition, of course, we are still hoping maybe the Prime Minister will be able to come. We still have to hear from his office. But Shri Bhupinder Yadav, Honorable Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, he would definitely be there, and we all know the importance of this important ministry. What we are trying to do in this summit, and that is to bring together global leaders policymakers, scientists, industry experts, youth leaders. So practically every stakeholder to come on the same platform to discuss messages for accelerating sustainable development goals. And most importantly, as I said earlier, it's the role of partnerships. Discussions and inputs as a built up for COP30, leading to COP33, which will be held in India, and Myers to ramp up ambitions of nationally determined contributions, and India taking the lead for the global south and set the global narrative in the current climate action scenario. We have galaxy of prominent speakers. The present chair of Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, Professor Jim Skee, as well as the previous chair of IPCC, they will be here. Mr. Martin Razor, Vice President, South Asia of World Bank, Jeffrey Sachs, President, UN Sustainable Development Solution Networks, Mr. Shambi Shah, UN Resident Coordinator in India, Soumya Swaminathan, who is the chairperson of MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, Professor Petri Talas, Director General of Finnish Meteorological Institute, Dia Mirza, who apart from being actor and producer, is also the UN Secretary General's advocate for SDGs and UNEP Goodwill Ambassador. Mr. Manish Chaurasia, CEO, Tata Chemical, Helen Claxon from CEO, Climate Group, Sujata Gupta, Director, Asian Development Bank, Dr. Pema Gamsu, Director General of EC-MOD, Ms. Amada Maxwell, Managing Director and Natural Resources Defense Council, Julia Rivera, Country Director of GIZ, amongst others. So it's quite, I should say, renowned personalities who will be here to discuss about these emerging issues. Some of you might be aware that this is the only independently convened international summit on sustainable development and the environment based in the global south. WSDS 2025 will focus on the theme Partnerships for Accelerating Sustainable Development and Climate Solutions, highlighting the need for collaborative efforts to address global climate challenges and sustainable development goals. With the world off tracking in meeting SDGs and facing an urgent need to reduce emissions, the summit will focus on the power of partnership to drive action. We are quite privileged to lead this dialogue, cultivating groundbreaking solutions and strategies for a future that is both sustainable and equitable. It becomes very important for a growing economy like India, because we are the ones, I always say, we are so diverse. Look at India. You have a business running in I should say, a small room of this size, all the way to what Adani's, Ambani's, and many of the other corporates are doing. And if we can find solutions to each one of these business houses, perhaps that's what the globe requires. We can provide global solutions. We have young workforce, we are innovative minds, we are hardworking. And therefore, quite a bit of solutions can be found from this country. And not to say that we can do everything alone. We need to develop partnerships with the developed world. But in most cases, it is not something which we can adopt. It's not plug and play. It is something co-development of technologies as well. It's also a price-sensitive market, and it's a growing economy. And therefore, for us also to become green becomes extremely important. And that is what the learnings from Global South, learnings from the developed part of the world, how those can fructify into fruitful relationships. So we are going to discuss on all those issues in number of plenary sessions and thematic tracks during the 3 days event, that is 5th of 7th of March, 2025. And I invite you and your colleagues to be present there. And I should say, apart from asking the panel in good questions, it will also be that please sensitize the citizens of this country how important it is to take action in those very spheres. The key highlight will be the Sustainable Development Leadership Award. Of course, we are not announcing till the time we get approvals from MEA. And apart from that, there will be few other launches like launch of Terra Green, the special issue, which we will be bringing, launch of TEDI. That's a very important publication. That is TEDI Energy and Environment Data Directory and Yearbook. And this is something which perhaps is there in every government department because they rely on the data that we provide in TEDI. We are also talking of launch of partnership under Atal Innovation Mission, Youth Awards, Act for Earth Manifesto, and few other publications. So without taking more time, I'd like to thank you again. Thank you for joining us, and I'm sure you are going to play a very critical role in taking the message, and that will help achieving the much larger mission of achieving SDGs and ultimately combating the climate crisis. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, ma'am. May we request Ajit Shankar sir, please, to take over?
TEDI has the privilege of hosting one of the major events on the global calendar around the key issues of sustainability and climate change. And so in the international system, in the global south, as the DG mentioned, we are a pioneer and remain a pioneer, and this occasion is an occasion for considerable exchange of thoughts and ideas. And as all of you know, that at the end of the day, it is ideas and thoughts which drive action for good or not so good results. So this is a very important debate. In terms of the global context, SDGs were the big thing. And fortunately, mankind is seeing progress there, maybe some countries far better than others. And climate change is an issue of survival for mankind. And the scientific opinion is getting stronger and stronger that we need immediate action. In the real world, immediate action is not at the pace at which it should be taking place. And for a change, the advanced industrial economies are today a cause of worry. And I have no hesitation in saying that what India has achieved in terms of responsible climate leadership is far more than I had expected and is really quite a role model. So this is one area where successes have been beyond expectations, and I think some of you need to get it across to your readers and viewers that this is one area where whatever we have done, we could legitimately be proud of. So in terms of increasing our climate ambition under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, we have been ahead of the curve, and we continue to be ahead of the curve. And I'll just mention 2-3 things. His announcement of the rooftop solar program. And the largest of its kind in the world, and that kind of welfare to ordinary households was really not on the table for discussion anywhere else in the world. Or his announcement of fossil fuel capacity, or this year's budget, 100 GW of nuclear, which is a non-carbon emitting source. So I think in terms of moving to net zero, I think we are really well on track, and I'm saying that we are better on track than many of the advanced industrial countries. And over to you, Shaili, for now, giving everybody the over picture. But I just wanted to emphasize that we can legitimately be very proud of what we are doing, what we have achieved. And the good news there is, again, that this is an area where every state government, every political party agrees that we are doing good work and we do better work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Katie.
So very good afternoon to all of you, and thank you so much for taking the time out for being as a part of this press conference. So the World Sustainable Development Summit, we have been one of the pioneering global platforms to drive ambition and action for over 2 decades. In fact, next year will be the silver jubilee of this summit. It will be the 25th edition. This year we are celebrating the 24th edition. Okay. So, as was already mentioned, the World Sustainable Development Summit is the only independently convened platform on the topic of sustainable development and climate action that is based in the Global South. The objectives of the summit is to pioneer conversations that drive both global ambition and action at all levels, exchange knowledge, ideas, and good practices, as well as contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals and the goals of the Paris Agreement by encouraging collective and informed decisions. Over the years, the summit has witnessed the participation of 58 heads of state and government, 137 ministers, 30 Nobel laureates, over 2,000 business leaders, over 3,000 speakers, and close to 40,000 delegates. The theory of change is to bring different stakeholders together so that they socialize, exchange ideas, and also listen to each others, so that they can apply the learnings from and inspiration in their respective spheres of work. This slide shows the heads of state and government who have participated in various editions of the summit since its inception, along with former heads of state and government and Nobel laureates. If we just look at the last summit, we saw more than 800 delegates, 2 heads of state and government. The Vice President of India had inaugurated the summit along with the Prime Minister of Guyana. We also saw a message from the Honorable Prime Minister of India. We saw 51 sessions, 350 speakers, out of which 11 were ministers. We had 23 partners, and we also had an exposition booth space in the summit. So this is just to give you a brief overview of the last year's summit, which I just already mentioned. The countdown. So now we come to this year's summit. We have just 15 days to go, and we are having this press conference. Every year, the summit is held under a broad umbrella theme. This year's umbrella theme is Partnerships for Accelerating Sustainable Development and Climate Solutions. The rationale behind choosing this theme is this year, 2025, we are marking 10 years since the adoption of SDGs, as well as the Paris Agreement. And we are not seeing enough progress. Only 14% of the 169 targets of SDGs are on track. In fact, 14% have gone back. They have regressed from their levels. 20% don't even have data to track it. We are not fast enough, according to science, to even reduce emissions at a global level, especially if we were to talk about the global north. And what we're talking now is a very challenging geopolitical context. In today's day, we are seeing, of course, Trumpism, which Dr. Dhawan also mentioned. Apart from that, even Europe is relatively weak because of the conflict situation in Europe. And another significant background development this year is the third round of NDCs, which various countries are expected to submit, and wherein one of the objectives of this summit is to drive greater ambition for the upcoming round on NDCs. So for the sub-themes of WSDS, climate action continues to be important, along with integrating sustainable development, energy transitions, very core, sustainable consumption and lifestyles, sustainable finance, including financing, adaptation, technology, and innovations. And various sessions during the summit will deliberate on the same. The summit is also guided by an international steering committee from different international experts, as you can see on the screen. And the features is an expo, plenaries. There'll be, of course, outreach and thematic tracks. Thematic tracks focus on specific topics. If you look at the structure of the summit, it's a 3-day summit. The first day starts with the thematic track and the inaugural. The second day, we have a session on nature, followed by financing, followed by NDC and multilateralism, energy transitions. And on day 3, we have a session on infrastructure and resilience, followed by technology and innovation, and integrating sustainable development, and finally the valedictory session. What are the three key takeaways that we expect from this summit? One is a roadmap for NDC 3.0 for the various countries and scaling ambition beyond the status quo, which is already there. Also, we are talking about accelerators for SDGs and looking at partnerships being one of the accelerator of SDGs. So with 5 years to go, what are the kind of accelerators and how specifically partnership can play a role? And finally, global leadership of the global south, including India. What we are seeing in the global north, we are actually looking at a vacuum of leadership from the global north. And so global south and India will have to step in and play a larger leadership role. So this is the third aspect. Some of the spotlight speakers already mentioned by Dr. Dhawan include, these are only confirmed speakers. We expect more political level confirmation, like, much closer to the summit days, 3 to 5 days before the summit date. But some of the spotlight speakers who have confirmed include the environment minister, include the chair of IPCC, Ms. Dia Mirza, the vice president of the World Bank. Also on the spiritual aspect, we have Sister Shivani, we have the Director General of ICMOD, a very important mountain-based organization, which is the only intergovernmental organization that focuses on mountain issues. We have the Regional Director of the Asia Pacific from the UNEP. Of course, we have our own TEDI leadership, Dr. Dhawan and Mr. Nitin Desai. We have Dr. Ajay Mathur, the Director General of ISA, an intergovernmental initiative by India. Also, the Director General of CDRI, an intergovernmental initiative by India, Helen Clarkson, Prachi Shivgaonkar Youth, Mr. Ono, who is the ED of IGES Japan, and Soumya Swaminathan, Professor Petri Talas. Now, this I'm going to skip very quickly, but this slide will be available. So we have participation from Minister, Government, and Bilaterals. And as already mentioned, we get confirmations closer to the summit date. Just a few minutes ago, before the start of the press conference, we've got confirmation from the Minister of Maldives and the Vice Minister of Maldives. So they are not yet there, but as we come closer to the summit, the confirmations from political level speakers, they come in. So please stay tuned in for that. And we have, of course, influencers, intergovernmental organization already mentioned, TEDI leadership will be there. These are the various CEOs who will be participating and various influencers, especially in the business and industry space, because they are also going to be key accelerators as far as sustainable development. Representatives from science and research, because the summit is also a science policy interface. And just a sneak peek, the main summit will be conducted at the Stein Auditorium in the India Habitat Center. So roughly this is what it will look like. We'll have an expo space outside, and the announcements and launches. Of course, one of the most important announcement will be the Sustainable Development Leadership Award given by TEDI to global leaders, launch of Terra Green WSDS special issue and TEDI, and also announcements related to partnership under Atal Innovation Mission, announcement of youth awards, and we conclude the summit with key lessons from each session through the Act for Earth Manifesto. And just very quickly about the Sustainable Development Leadership Award, it is given to global leaders. And these are leaders who actually do not wait for consensus, they create it. It's also given so that it serves as an inspiration to other leaders so that they can catalyze positive environment action in their spheres of work. And just to give you an overview, who have been the past recipients, the last one was given in 2022 to Mr. Michael Bloomberg, UN Special Envoy, and Professor Jeff Sachs, the Prime Minister of Fiji, the Chief Minister of Sikkim, and also, of course, the former Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh, and many heads of state and government. So this is the announcement. Of course, as Dr. Dhawan mentioned, we are waiting for protocol-related clearances, so stay tuned for who will get the next Sustainable Development Leadership Award. All the links and information about the summit will be regularly updated as speakers confirm and as speakers register on WSDS website. So that's the WSDS website. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kedia, for this insightful presentation. Now we open the floor for round of question and answers. Please, we can start. Mike. we can start with the question and answers. If you could just quickly introduce so that the other panelists also know who they're speaking to. Thank you, Mani.
Good afternoon. My name is Manas. I am a reporter for Mint. We spoke about how nations are off track from their SDGs. How bad are things? How much off track are we talking about here? This is for the entire panel. Anyone who wishes to elaborate on the topic?
Did we take one question?
Sorry.
Did you take a couple of questions?
Maybe answer this.
Okay, yeah. So according to the latest SDG progress report by the UN, only 14% of SDGs are on track. 14% have even actually gone back to what they were in 2015, and to 20% are not even tracked. So what we are really seeing is only 14% of SDGs being on track. And in fact, the sad part is, of course, the environmental goals are pretty off track. They are not even being tracked, some of them. And some of the very basic social goals are also off track, So, yeah.
And a bit of the Indian context, we have achieved a revolution in taking clean cooking energy to households. I mean, this is historically unprecedented. It follows taking clean electricity to all households. And then the safe drinking water to piped water supply to households. And with the food security delivery, at least we've eliminated hunger of a basic level. So we can be quite proud of all that we have achieved.
Yeah, and this 14% is at the global level. This is at the global level.
Hello, good afternoon. Natalie from Outlook Business Strategy. When we talk about renewable energy targets, we essentially talk about capacity building and how we look at different sources of renewable energy. However, a huge part of sustainable development is also includes circular economy. So how do you think will this summit that is coming up address the issue of circular economy in India?
Would you like to answer? I'll add to this.
Yes, so as you know, like circular economy has been now receiving increased attention even from the government of India. When we talk about SDG 12, which is on sustainable consumption and production, it is about circular economy. The government of India, for instance, the Mission Life initiative. In fact, just wanted to also mention that WSDS is an outreach initiative of Mission Life, and circular economy is a big part of Mission Life. So as you know, even in G20 and even before that, India and the Environment Ministry has been looking at resource efficiency policy. Terry has been very much working with the government in this space. The government of India also has, for instance, the right to repair, which is also a circular economy measure. But yes, you're very right when we're talking about renewable energy, when we're talking about solar photovoltaic modules. There is a need for because we have not really seen that many solar infrastructure till the end of the life, but there is a very active thinking in terms of circular economy, even when we talk about energy transitions and looking at even solar photovoltaics.
Well, if I can just add to it, I'll put it this way, like Government of India as well as Terry, we are very serious, both in terms of renewable energy as well as looking at circular economy. And in the last WSDS, the then Honorable Minister R.K. Singh has announced setting up of Institute on Energy Transition by Terry, so which is in place now. In fact, we have signed the first MOU with Ministry of Power and Bureau of Energy Efficiency, looking at various research projects, and we discussed with the MNRE. And one of the proposals or one of the center of excellence that MNRE is interested in setting up is on waste management. So it goes without saying, and I'll also like to compliment, because there are a number of corporates in the country who have started taking action on it. Like, for example, I'll name one, like silica from the agriculture residue of rice. So that is being extracted and put in the tires. That's it's commercial venture by Tata Chemicals. So what one is trying to do is that the wasted material, I hate to use the word waste because nothing is wasted, it's wasted. So how do you gainfully collect the material that can be put into some use? So it's already there. There are a number of startups. IITs are also helping them to enter this space. And with once we have the carbon credit scheme in place, I'm sure all this will become a reality. So the already startups are there and research institutions are also working in that direction.
Any more questions, please? No? Yes? Do we close it?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So, thank you, everyone. Thank you, panelists. So there are a few requests we have for our panelists. They can chat up with ma'am for the conference. We have lunch laid outside. We would like you all to have lunch and informally if you want to chat up with our panelists. And thank you very much for coming over for the